A brash political power play cost him his job and led to the downfall of his own governments. But a few months later, to everyone's surprise, he's back. And after winning a local election in the heart of Italy, he says he'll soon take Rome. I'm Imran Garta, and today's newsmaker is Matteo Salvini. A few days ago, a small portion of Italy's population, just 2%, cast votes in an election that could be a litmus test for the rest of the country. It happened in Umbria, known as the Green Heart of Italy. Umbria is isolated and the only region that doesn't border the sea or another country. Historically a left-wing stronghold, ruled for the last 50 years by either communists, the left, or the centre-left, it's now swung dramatically to the right. Its voters chose Matteo Salvini's League party over a left-wing coalition. A coalition Salvini helped give birth to in a fumbled bid to trigger a new election and become prime minister back in August. His populist nationalism is delivered with a smooth tongue and a preacher's charm. His message: Italy for Italians, no migrants and reduced taxes. While some say his ideas are racist and financially unrealistic, his supporters and the majority of Umbrians disagree. One Italian journalist described his victory there as Salvini's revenge. Natalie Perhernan tells us why.
Just months ago, Matteo Salvini was one of Europe's most prominent politicians. He was Italy's deputy prime minister and interior minister, gaining global notoriety for an anti-immigration crackdown. His party, the League, was in the governing coalition. In August, Salvini pulled out of that alliance in a bid to trigger an election. It was a political gamble that he lost. The League is now in opposition, but that's only emboldened his supporters' calls for Salvini to one day become prime minister. The party's heartland is in northern Italy. It was called the Northern League until Salvini rebranded it to broaden its appeal. But it's still in places like Varese, about an hour's drive from Milan, where you'll find some of the most loyal supporters. Paola Miola joined the Northern League in 2000 when she was pregnant with her daughter Rebecca. I meet them the day before they're heading to Rome for a mass League gathering to demonstrate against the new government. Paola says she feels betrayed and wants Salvini back in office.
Ognuno ha diritto di mantenere le proprie usanze, le proprie tradizioni e Matteo Salvini vuole continuare a lasciare queste cose, a non far sì che vengano perse, come abbiamo problemi della gestione dell'immigrazione, quindi problemi identici da nord a sud. Quindi lui ha captato anche questo problema che affligge tutte le regioni d'Italia.
Rebecca voted for the first time in this year's European parliamentary elections.
Ho votato Matteo Salvini, la Lega.
She says Salvini is misunderstood.
Questa cosa mi fa molto dispiacere perché Matteo viene molto sottovalutato dai miei coetanei, anzi loro lo considerano un razzista, fascista, omofobo, ma soltanto perché lo dicono per sentito dire, per ignoranza, non si sono mai davvero informati su chi è Matteo e sul suo programma elettorale.
It's early morning in Milan when we catch up with Paola and Rebecca. They're on their way to the capital, joining thousands of supporters from across the country who've responded to Salvini's call. Today, the League is Italy's most popular party. It's also Italy's largest party in the European Parliament, where it's represented by politicians like Silvia Sardone. She's just become a card-carrying member.
Con il governo di Matteo Salvini gli sbarchi erano crollati, la politica dei porti chiusi aveva di fatto bloccato gli sbarchi e l'Italia non era più considerato il campo profughi d'Europa. Oggi con il nuovo governo le porte sono riaperte e l'Italia purtroppo sta tornando ad essere il campo profughi d'Europa.
Sardone says when it comes to refugees, her leader is misinterpreted by the media.
Matteo Salvini non parla diciamo in maniera negativa dei rifugiati. Matteo Salvini ha una posizione critica sull'immigrazione, ma l'immigrazione non sono i rifugiati. Cioè il 90% delle persone che arrivano qua, okay, non scappa da alcuna guerra e non sono rifugiati.
Anti-migrant rhetoric has become a part of the political language in Italy. It means there's constant work for NGO No Walls to help immigrants integrate into the community and to help Italians to better understand foreigners.
When you go into the class and you ask, listen, what do you think is the percentage of finance in Italy? 30%, 25%, no, it's 8%. Ah, come on, it's impossible.
He says politics has led to division.
There's been a barrier which, my opinion, has been created on purpose by politicians who obtain actually the general or the majority consent by convincing people that there was an invasion.
Many League supporters don't view themselves as belonging to a far-right party. They see themselves as centrists. There's booing when pictures of left-leaning politicians are projected on the big screen. Italy isn't due to go to the polls until 2023, but that hasn't stopped this crowd from calling for one now. It's clear from speaking with people at this demonstration that they don't feel represented by the new government, but they do have an unwavering faith in their chosen political saviour, Matteo Salvini. This rally was open to all parties on the right, from centrists to neo-fascists. A broad church for the right wing. They're united for this sermon.
Al governo abbiamo gente con le mani sporche di sangue. Più partenze, più problemi, più morti. E noi al governo, di questo sono sicuro, e questa piazza ce lo racconta, torneremo e torneremo presto dalla porta principale.
Among the crowd are Paola and Rebecca from Varese.
Vai avanti così, Matteo sei unico.
That's a sentiment he's been able to develop from north to south, and it's placed the far right near the heart of Italian politics. Natalie Pohonen, The Newsmakers, Rome.
Well, joining me now from Brussels is Marco Campomenosi. He's a member of the European Parliament with the League Party and an advisor to Matteo Salvini when he was the Italian Deputy Prime Minister. Valerio Bordonaro is an advisor to former Prime Minister Enrico Letta. He joins us from Rome. And in London is Davide Vampa. He's the co-convener of the Italian Politics Specialist Group in the UK Political Studies Association. Gentlemen, good to have you all on the programme. Valerio, let's begin with you. So you see the League winning in Umbria. You see their massive rally in Rome. Does it make you nervous?
It doesn't make me nervous. It makes me more nervous to see what the government is doing now. They are thrilling about these results, but the government was precisely born with the aim to last until the end of the legislature. So it's better if they focus on themselves and not on the League. 2023 is the goal to reach.
Marco Campomenosi, when we hear the Prime Minister Conte saying, we are here to govern with courage and determination, a regional vote cannot in any way influence our actions. If we have no courage, determination or foresight, it would be better for us to go home. He's downplaying your win in Umbria. He's saying it's a regional vote. It doesn't affect the national story. How do you feel about that?
Well, I feel very happy. What I may say is that it's not important what Prime Minister Conte is thinking now. What is important is what the citizens want now. And the citizens have given a clear idea that they want a center-right majority in this country. If it would be possible, as soon as possible, of course, the elections should be normally on the 23. We have other regional elections. We have just won the 8th region in a row in the last year. even in places as Umbria, where normally the left is, where the ruling parties since after the Second World War, after the fact that the Constitution introduced the regions, and we will continue to win in other regions. We try the challenge in Emilia-Romagna in a few months, in January. That would be more difficult, and we give other signals to Rome in order to see that we are ready to go back to the government.
Right. Okay. So just for clarity, Emilia-Romagna, local elections coming up in January there, another northern region, also historically left. That would be fascinating to see what happens there. Davide Vampa, what's going on here? Salvini is undoubtedly bullish and he's happy because everybody thought he messed this up in the summer and lost his job. But he's back. But is he back to the extent that he's going to actually unsettle this coalition government?
That might happen. I didn't think that when he left the government he would be over. Many journalists said that's the end of Salvini, also many politicians, and I didn't think that was the case. I don't think that Salvini's success is due to the fact that Italians have become more right-wing or more have developed more anti-immigration feelings. If we look at data from a Eurobarometer in 2014, actually 78% of Italians said that they had hostile or very hostile feelings towards immigrants coming from outside the EU. That figure has actually declined over the last years. I think Salvini has been able to occupy a political space that at the moment is empty, with the collapse of Berlusconi's party, Forza Italia, but also with the collapse of the other center-left party, the PD, and last collapse is the collapse of the Five Star Movement, which managed to attract voters from the left and the right. And once in government, it has proved unable to reconcile different demands. And Salvini has definitely exploited this.
Okay, so Valerio, is that a fair analysis? Rather than Salvini being particularly great or La Lega's platform being particularly great, it's just that everybody else has been particularly terrible, especially on issues like migration and the economy. And therefore, people are turning to Salvini.
Well, you see, it's true that no great performances we've seen till now. Not even the Northern League is playing such a beautiful game. I can tell Salvini is really an artist in communicating and staying on top of the wave. I think that 2023, so the next 3 years, are a good trial to see if the left side is still alive, and if Salvini is a bubble that can deflate. Of course, till now, I can tell maybe from 2009 until now, the left side didn't play a great game. But of course, it's still the more reputable political party in Italy.
Right, Valerio. When you look at their alliance with Brothers of Italy, for example, is it clear to you that they are aligning themselves with neo-fascists?
I don't totally agree, but there's a big factor of being very close to the neo-fascism. But the point, I told this many times, talking about fascism is a mistake. That was a precise period in history, and I think today is no longer possible. So giving them this adjective is more or less like giving them a compliment, but they're not even closer to what was in the past.
So how would you define them?
A new right, populist right, something like that. The populist wave is something that we are experiencing everywhere. If you think at Matteo Renzi, he's the king of the leftist populism.
Right. So Marco, would you accept that label? Populist right, anti-immigrant, anti-refugee, Italy for Italians. You have brotherly organizations and governments in places like Poland and Hungary and elsewhere. Are you comfortable with that characterization?
Well, honestly, Salvini has never attacked refugees. The 90% of people which are trying to come to Italy from the coast of Northern Africa are economic immigrants, are not refugees. We would be happy to have refugees from Syria, from other countries which are really in situations as wars and so on, but they have been taken as cherry picking from Mrs. Merkel and other Northern European countries. What is happening in Italy is a sort of invasion of economic immigrants which are creating problems to the lower wages classes made by Italians and legal immigrants. And the legal immigrants in Italy are in a very bad situation because they are not recognized.
Okay, so fair enough. If somebody's from Algeria or from Pakistan, they're not under a UN definition a refugee, they're seen as a migrant, right? Noted. And if that person comes to Italy, perhaps in terms of the definition, they wouldn't be considered refugees. But when your ally, Silvio Berlusconi, gets up on stage in that massive rally in Rome and talks about the refugees using words such as rapists, drug dealers, thieves, terrorists, whether refugees or migrants, are you completely comfortable with that?
Yeah, but as you know, there have been a lot of risk with illegal immigration, given by the fact that even terrorists have tried to use the same routes of illegal immigrants. So more controls is also more safety, more controls is less departures. Less departures means less deaths in the Mediterranean Sea.
Valerio can't control himself. So you find it relevant and you find it on point. Valerio, tell me why you're not happy with that.
Yeah, sorry, but we are using the worst stereotypes in the world, putting migration and crime together. It's really offending the smartness of these people talking to us today. Come on, Mr. Campomenosi, he was an advisor before being an MEP. It's not, come on, he doesn't trust the things he says. It's crazy to talk about migration using the
so let me ask Davide.
Crime.
Why do voters, especially, for example, voters in Umbria, trust those words and that characterization? Why is it resonating with people?
I think, as I said earlier, I don't think there has been a change in attitudes in the Italian electorate. I think that the level of anti-immigration feelings have not increased. I think what the voters think today is that the mainstream parties have failed, so there has been a collapse in support for mainstream parties. The voters are more fluid, and they see in Salvini a strong leader, which other parties don't have at the moment. And so he has been able to occupy a vacuum, and even in a traditionally left-wing region like Umbria, which has been governed by the left for 50 years, voters have decided to change. This is because, let's say that Salvini has also been very good at communicating his message via social media, but I would say he has mixed it also with campaigns on the ground.
Right.
So he's very eclectic in his use of campaigning. Right. He is very active on social media, but he's also very active campaigning. I think he participated in 50 different rallies and political events only in Umbria, which is a region of 900,000 inhabitants. So he's very effective in that respect.
Valerio, politically speaking, when we look at the alliances, is it fair to say that you have Salvini and the League in this alignment with the Brothers of Italy, for example, they are far more natural allies than the alliance between the Five-Star Coalition and the PD party? They're not a very natural group of people that would get along. Is that one of the problems?
Yeah, is that one of the problems? Of course. I wouldn't say that the League and Brothers of Italy have natural allies, but they are more compatible than the PD and Five-Star movement. But still, we're experiencing something new these years. As Mr. Vampa was said, the electorate is very fluid. This means that maybe in a couple of months we will see two blocks growing up, and maybe PD will be a good friend of the five-star movement, and Brothers of Italy and the League could become very strong allies. What is a little bit sad to see is Silvio Berlusconi staying on that side with these themes. But this is why Forza Italia is maybe collapsing now.
Valerio, maybe it's because Berlusconi wants to back a winner and he sees where the tide is turning?
I don't know, maybe, but this would be a big mistake. He already had everything from his life and from politics. Why not retiring instead of being in the back of Salvini?
Right. Marco, for our viewers who don't know, what's the League's plan for Italy in Europe? How does it see itself in Europe?
The fact is that we are different from other parties as some of our allies. We are at the government already since some decades in cities and regions, where, of course, we don't give only an example on being strict on immigration and on security, but also because we offer a quality of services to the citizens. The northern Italian regions, which are ruled by Lega since years, are an example for all the rest of Italy, and now the offer of Lega is also going and spread to all the countries. So regarding European Union, the problem is that the old majority of the mainstream groups in the European Parliament, for example, is supporting Mrs. von der Leyen without proposing any new changement, and we are at the opposition. We are outside this game. It's a pity that Five Stars, who started to be against and trying to change and modify the way we stay inside this European Union, has failed, and they are already supporting Mrs. von der Leyen in exchange of some political places inside the parliament and so on. So it's really a pity because we don't think that Mrs. von der Leyen will have a success. There will be a lot of struggles between socialists and EPP commissioners. Sometimes they have portfolio which are a bit in confusion, one in conflict with another. So we are here to make the opposition because they have never had a real opposition. My delegation, the delegation I led for Lega in the European Parliament, will be the biggest one after Brexit, with Merkel's CDU. So we will have many instruments in order to convince them that they have to change.
Davide Vampa, is the country becoming more Eurosceptic?
In some respects, yes. I think that this...
Go ahead, David.
Sorry. Yes, I think that Italians have become more Eurosceptic, but this is not a recent phenomenon. So it cannot really explain this exponential growth in support for Salvini. I mean, I think Paul suggested that Italians were already Eurosceptic 5 years ago when Salvini had only 6% of the vote. But it's right to say that Salvini has been able to capitalize from these feelings and has become politically more active. Although his position on Europe has been quite ambivalent, I would say, ambiguous, because it's not clear to me whether he is in favor of staying in the Eurozone. He wants to leave the Eurozone. It seemed that he wanted to leave the Eurozone, and some members of his party want to do that. Others are more cautious. So in that respect, it's not very clear where his party stands.
Right.
And that might be a problem if in the future we'll be again in government.
Valerio, does it suit them that there's no clarity? There's a little bit of this message and a little bit of that message.
Yeah, of course, there's no clarity about that because they are Eurosceptic, but they understand that being Eurosceptic is against their interest. So they try to say something and then the other day they say exactly the contrary. There's no way outside Europe. And we see nowadays what's going on with Brexit. Sorry for all the Eurosceptic in the world, but it's not that easy to get out, and it's not that useful to get out. We need to be, realistic. We are part of the European Union. It's one of the biggest gains that we had after the Second World War. We'd better to stay inside. We'd better to play according to the rule, and we'll get our part of the jackpot.
Right. Valerio, I want to bring this to the center of power again. We know Salvini wants to become prime minister, but there is a prime minister, Giuseppe Conte. Is he sweating right now? Let's look at this holistically. So we see, for example, La Lega winning in Umbria. He says it's not too much of a big deal. But then he's got two scandals that are brewing, hauled in front of Parliament, related to Trump's impeachment issue. He has questions to answer over a Vatican corruption scandal and so on. Is the sort of noose closing in on him? Is he genuinely under pressure?
Well, I'm sure he's under pressure. He is a human being, so I understand his point of view. But I would say that the Umbria election are not so important, considering the numbers of people. Mr. Vampa said 900,000 people is living there, so it's a 60, I don't know, it's really less than 10% of the population. Right.
Okay, so let me pose a hypothetical. Okay, let me pose a hypothetical. If they win Emilia-Romagna as well in January, are you then going to be in a situation where you go, okay, I need to rethink this maybe?
Yeah, I agree. After Emilia-Romagna, something could change, and it will not be about Conte, but it will be either the five-star movement, either the PD saying, okay, this is not working, we're losing too much.
Marco, very finally, do you want Prime Minister Conte to resign?
Sorry, I did not hear. There was a problem. Could you repeat, please?
Do you want Prime Minister Conte to resign?
Of course, he should have already understood that he has to resign. But the fact is that this majority is made up only to keep elections far as more as possible. This is the only reason, because the two leading parties are now in conflict for every issue. The five stars are not supporting what is important for our country. Italy is not growing in economy. They are only introducing taxation. So I think that even arriving to the elections in Emilia-Romagna, it will be very difficult to this government.
Okay, Marco.
So I think that despite that.
Okay, I've got to wrap here, unfortunately. So sorry for interrupting you. It's been a pleasure talking to all of you gentlemen. Looking forward to having you back on the Newsmakers. Marco, Valerio, and Davide. Take care. Bye-bye for now.